Okay, if we get started, we're a few minutes late. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June 3rd meeting. Are there any public speakers? I know, Murray, why don't you go first, and then George can go. Go ahead.
Thank you. The esteemed president of MTA Construction, the New York State Society of Professional Engineers announced that the MTA's tunnels, the first phase of the number 7, will be awarded the 2013 Construction Project of the Year by the Professional Engineers and Construction Group. And Michael, that's a nice recognition of the work you've done. It reflects the work you're doing on the 2nd Avenue subway as well. And it's nice to know that your professional peers have recognized the quality of the work that you're doing here. So I want to thank you personally for doing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you.
That's okay, yeah. You can do that every time.
No, this is the new world that we're dealing with out here. And I spoke about it before at the last meeting. My meetings will be out in the hall, and I've set my watch for 60 seconds. If I can't make my case in 60 seconds, it shouldn't be made. There are a lot of things that have to be fixed. You've started the way to do it. Other things have to be fixed as well, and my speaking up here is not getting the job done. So I'm going to do it in a different way, and don't be surprised if, as that chef says, let's raise the heat a little bit. The heat's coming up. I don't want you to be surprised. What I've been doing for the last couple of years hasn't accomplished the job, so I'll have to do it differently. From here, I'll make friendly suggestions and nothing of substance except the fact that the world has changed. And that's what the plan says. We've always done it this way. It's time to change. I used to carry a computer, then a laptop. Now I do a cell phone. But I want to thank all those people around who have helped me over the years. It's been appreciated. And to those who I may have embarrassed or said something improperly, I apologize. At the time, I was more immature than I am now. I'll be 80 in next week, so whatever it is, I'm going to try and make the next couple of years go, because I don't have many more to go. I want to thank all of you who have helped me over the years. It's been appreciated.
Thank you very much. George?
My name is George Hykalis, and thanks again for the opportunity to Mitch and the committee to speak before you. I'm the president of the Institute for Rational Urban Mobility. IRM is a New York City-based nonprofit concerned with reducing traffic congestion in dense urban places. IRM strongly supports the introduction of direct rail Long Island Railroad service to Manhattan's East Side, by far the nation's largest concentration of office space. However, MTA's current plan is badly flawed and should be modified. IRM continues to request that MTA conduct an independent third-party review of the benefits and cost of redirecting the Long Island Railroad East Side Access Project to an alternative developed by the Delcan Corp., Canada's largest engineering firm, that would use 5 existing tracks that lead to the little-used upper-level loop at Grand Central. The attached figure prepared by MTA engineers in advancing the upper-level loop plan and describes its insurmountable challenges. In fact, it shows exactly the opposite. The measures needed are comparable to many advanced by MTA for the number 7 extension or the local express connection. Changing direction now would avoid the grave concerns clearly expressed by 4 fire safety experts about the ability of passengers to safely exit the deep cavern station in the event of a fire or terrorist attack. These are even more worrisome in the wake of the Boston Boston Marathon bombing. The station, some 150 feet below Park Avenue, is an inviting, high-profile target. With an even 20-minute interruption and even in evening rush hour service, as many as 8,000 passengers would accumulate in waiting for trains in the Deep Cavern station. Using the upper level loop greatly diminishes this risk while saving the Long Island Railroad passengers 3 to 4 minutes of travel time in each direction and avoiding the substantial operating costs required to maintain 47 escalators and several ventilating plants needed for the Deep Cavern. IRM believes that an independent assessment would clearly demonstrate that changing course is in the public interest and urges MTA to proceed quickly with such an independent assessment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minutes of April 22nd. Are there any changes to the minutes? Motion to approve second. All in favor? Any changes to the work plan, Helena?
No.
No changes to the work plan. Okay. Why don't we go to agency president's report? Helena, you're on.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I'm very pleased to note at the beginning of today's meeting that the Long Island Railroad won a gold award in the inaugural 2013 American Public Transportation Award Rail Safety Awards. And it was our Maintenance of Equipment Department that received the award for their safety management system. And that was a comprehensive approach, and it did produce one of the best safety records in recent years with a remarkable 29% reduction in employee reportable injuries. The system involved on-the-floor safety discussions, goal setting, and goal reporting, and involved all levels of employees in the Maintenance of Equipment Department. And of course, if anyone is familiar with our Hillside facility, they know how big it is and how much heavy machinery is there. So we are, of course, delighted that APTA is recognizing our Maintenance of Equipment Department. Dan Cleary, our Chief Mechanical Officer, will be traveling to Philadelphia to receive the award, and he'll be accompanied by Bruce Weller. I have to do a shout out for Bruce, who is retiring in a few short months after 30 years of promoting safety in our Maintenance of Equipment Department. With regard to safety, the number of employee reportable accidents remains slightly higher than last year, 47 compared to 30. We do seem to have a concentration of soft tissue injuries. Slips, trips, and falls are the main drivers. We have relaunched our new Be Trained Smart, Don't Be a Statistic campaign. And we would like to thank New York City Transit for their help in looking at some of the safety messaging. Again, our goal is to try to reduce the number of slips, trips, and falls that occur on our system. Our summer season was off to a strong start, and while the Memorial Day ridership was slightly down from last year, which we think was attributable to the inclement weather for most of the weekend, we did enjoy a very positive response to the new Cannonball service, which departed from Penn Station for the first time in recent history. The first Cannonball train departed on May 24th, and it went nonstop to West Hampton. It was a fully loaded train with some standees. We were fully booked on the Hamptons reserve cars, and this was this is a very popular train, and it's designed to arrive in 94 minutes with the first stop in West Hampton. I do want to thank Mike Cohen. The MTA Police did an outstanding job of supporting this effort at Penn Station. It was just really went like clockwork. I have to thank you very much. And of course, the Long Island Railroad team led by Mike Gelomino, Dan Cleary, Rod Brooks, General Superintendent Vincent Camposano, who just did a terrific job at Penn Station. This was an assemblage of 14 units on track 19. So this was a very large train. Yanni Tacos did a great job of all the marketing. So we look forward, to this effort to, really smooth out some of the operations for the Montauk service, better serve the ferry service as well to Fire Island. One of the initiatives is to use more of our mobile ticketing. That's been a pilot for a number of summers, and that's ongoing again. I'm pleased to point out that we have the Belmont Stakes coming. That's June 8th, and while it's not a Triple Crown this year, the weather forecast is looking good. It's the 144th running of the stakes race, and Long Island Railroad has always supported this with extra service, and will do that again. Long Beach is also an area I want to mention. We've been working with the governor's office, Governor Andrew Cuomo, and the city of Long Beach. They've all teamed up to promote Long Beach as it continues to recover from Sandy. Long Beach in recent years has become a very popular weekend beach destination, and the Long Island Railroad offers a combined train beach admission package. It's really our #1 bestseller. This year we're enhancing the package ticket by adding merchant discounts and admission to the Long Beach shuttle bus to encourage customers to explore the west end of Long Beach. And Governor Cuomo has been working really hard to promote tourism within New York, and we're very pleased that Long Beach is part of that effort. We also have the 2013 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. It's being hosted at Citi Field July 14th through the 16th. And we will, of course, have plenty of additional service serving the All-Star game. It starts on Sunday with a doubleheader featuring All-Star legends, celebrity softball. There's a home run derby on Monday, and then Tuesday's the actual All-Star game. I want to mention our Port Washington track extension discussion. We are initiating an outreach effort. This is an Eastside Access Readiness Project, and we'll be opening up an information center at Port Washington the week of June 10th. We'll be presenting different options for a track extension at the Port Washington station. These extensions will allow us to immediately improve service on the Port Washington branch, including Port Washington, Plandome, and Manhasset customers. As you may remember, that's a single track territory from Great Neck east, which means that it's very difficult to make service improvements without additional trains located in Port Washington. The tentative plans, when we get to Eastside Access, and some could be initiated before that, calls for 9 additional trains, 3 in the AM, 6 in the PM, once the track extensions are installed. The issue for the community, of course, is there is some loss of commuter parking at the station, but we're working with the town of Hempstead to try to minimize the number of spots that are impacted, and we want to share that information with the public and get their input so that they will understand what actions we're proposing for Port Washington. Now I'd like to go to the Herald Interlocking Eastside Access Project so that I can describe the service impacts, and you'll see it again in the information item on the track work program. You may recall that Michael did a more detailed construction discussion at our prior meeting. I had promised I would come back and give you a sense of the customer impacts. So again, let's go to the next slide. We are timed right between 2 important sporting events, the All-Star Game and the U.S. Tennis Open. We want to continue to support those initiatives and have worked hard with Eastside Access to fit this construction in. And it's a key element of Amtrak's high-speed rail initiative, and it will provide Amtrak with conflict-free routing through Herald, and in the future Metro North would be able to access this route. It is rather complicated construction, and we're going to show you the diagram. You can see the red is actually the routing, and it comes off New Haven 1 track from the north, and new track parallels Long Island Railroad routes both into Penn and Grand Central. It goes under Line 4 and Line 2 and reconnects at the East River Tunnel Line 2 portal, thus allowing for, are you ready for this? Triple simultaneous parallel train movements. Long Island Railroad into Penn, Long Island Railroad into Grand Central, Amtrak into Penn, and in the future, Metro North would access Penn that way as well. This was the slide Mike showed you. It shows you the tunnel box. This is the tunnel section that would go beneath Line 4 and Line 2. The next slide shows you the highlighted area that the slab will form the roof of the tunnel section. Once the slab is installed, tunneling can take place between Lines 4 and Line 2 without impacting Long Island Railroad ridership. And this work is being performed simultaneously with work that Amtrak is performing in the East River Tunnel Line 4. As you know, we're doing a total track replacement program with Amtrak. We're supporting that on weekends. This was a unique opportunity to access Line 4 during these weekend outages because we wouldn't be using it based on this construction. So Amtrak, and I must really credit them on this, they did come through with enough workforces to support the Line 4 total track replacement program as well as the slab construction. And I've got to highlight Ray Kenny and Mike Kalita for really intensely pursuing a work plan that achieved both. And our goal has been to maximize outages as much as we can, and it will, I think, be very beneficial in the future so that they don't have to come back and request another outage. Okay, so the benefits of doing the construction this way. It reduces the number and risk of weekend outages. It allows for subsequent tunnel construction that does not impact Long Island Railroad customers, because once the slab is in, the work takes place underneath the slab, the trains can keep operating. It saves construction time in Herald, and it ensures that we're more on track for the high-speed rail grant timeframe that is essential for the federal grant monies. Okay, so now, of course, there is some pain associated with the game. And this is the special operating program that will operate for 30 days. In order to allow for this construction and to take this section out of service, there will be 3 a.m. peak trains canceled, 1 a.m. peak Hunters Point train, 1 a.m. peak Long Island City train terminates at Jamaica. In the p.m., there'll be 2 p.m. peak trains canceled. 2 trains that normally originate in Hunters Point will originate in Jamaica. And there's an additional 1 to 2 minute running time between Herald and Penn Station added to all westbound Port Washington trains and 38 other trains that come into that area. So we are very excited about going forward with this. I really have to compliment Michael. Your team's just done an exceptional job of laying out, the 30-day construction period. Let me ask if you have any comments.
Couldn't have said it any better, so no comment.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's really been a great team effort. And with that, we'll take the lights back, and I'm just going to wrap up my comments on ridership. We have, unfortunately, experienced a slight ridership decline in April. 0.9% decrease. However, there's some very good news in all of this as well. There's a positive development among customers buying weekly, monthly, and weekly tickets. Counter to recent monthly ridership trends, the April 2013 commutation ridership increased 1.2%. So it is wonderful when we start to see the monthly core ridership come back. We have been seeing most of our growth in non-commutation type tickets. So it's just terrific when we see this core ridership. So we'll continue to watch that and report on it. And that's our report.
Any questions for Helena on anything covered in the report? Okay. Information items. RCM fleet maintenance, page 29.
Do we have other reports first? Do you do usually?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Capital and
I just kept one right, but I apologize. Whatever. Wait a minute. Aren't you done yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Go ahead, Michael. I apologize.
Okay, Just a few highlights that, in effect, they are in the book. We're just going to identify some things. The 919, that this is Drogado-Jadlow contract on the Manhattan tunnels, they're going to be meeting their substantial completion milestone in June, although a lot of the punch list and closeout items are currently being performed. Both contractors remain on target for final completion later this summer. One point to make here is that contract 009, we will have a change order to allow us to do some work in anticipation of future work north of the cavern, so we will be doing that under a change order. The 55th Street, that is probably the most prominent place that we are working above ground. The contractor completed the installation of the street decking to the probably happiness of the Friars Club. That is our main, we are impacting their entrance, and the steel erection has begun at 44th Street. That this is just behind us here. Regarding a contract that is in the basically the GCT, we have started a contract on with a mentoring program. We have a mentor contractor, and the scope includes work in GCT in support of the construction of the Long Island Railroad concourse. So that's happening right there. In Queens, the TBM tunnels, the TBM tunneling work has been completed. The contractor has started the additional tunnel A approach structure, and that is expected to be completed in early 2014. Also in Queens, the Northern Boulevard crossing, the work has been completed, but the substantial completion has been extended from May to June. We expect to basically transfer the load. We need to do a load transfer for the BMT, so that's going to happen probably late June. This depends on a GO that we will be getting from the Transit Authority. Preliminary work, in the third-party contractor to prepare for the summer work is underway right now. One thing that I would like to also mention, that in Harold, since we're still in Queens, we advertise for a contract and in the part of the regional investments to in order to support the west bypass structure. In Manhattan, we are procuring right now, in effect, two contracts. One is the 005 south of the cavern. This contract we expect to open bids mid-June, and this is part of the apportioning of the work once we cancel the CM12 original contract. And also we expect to advertise immediately after the opening of 05, 06, that this is the concreting north of the Grand Central Cavern. With that, I conclude my report on East Side Access.
Any questions for Michael? Ira?
You may have partially answered this when you mentioned that mentoring contract, but in looking at these contracts, I've been curious as to where does the final work in the concourses, where does it fall in here? Or it's the ultimate finishing work?
The concourse work is on the contract, it's on this CM014B, if I'm correct, and that is going to be advertised sometimes, I think, towards the end of the summer. And that's the finishes in that part. This does not include the caverns, that the finishes is on the contract 007 that will be advertised sometime next year.
But that's not in this list here that we have. I don't see it.
The 007? It is not mentioned.
The 014.
Yes. No, the 014B?
14B.
Yeah.
These are only awarded contracts.
Awarded, right.
He said that was going to be bid at the end of the summer. Right.
Okay. Is there
So
a
it's
list,
not in procurement
Is there a
yet.
list of contracts that are not in procurement? And
Yes. We'll be
Could you
glad to
sup-
forward it to you.
I'd like that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Chief? We're on police report, page 21.
Morning. We were up 13 incidents compared to 10 last year. We had 3 robberies, one in Amityville with an arrest. We had 2 in Baldwin. One of those was of a iPhone with an arrest, and one of those was actually a pair of sneakers, and that case is still open. Of concern was the 10 larcenies. 6 of those 10 were part of a pattern. They were all electronic devices, mainly cell phones. We have made 2 arrests. The last arrest was on May 5th, and since then we have not had any incidents. That we shared that pattern with Nassau County. It was mainly Rockville Center, Freeport, and Baldwin. Some on our property, some off the property. But as I said, since May 5th, we have not had an incident. If you have any questions, free to
Any
answer.
questions for the chief? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, information
Okay,
items.
now we're to the information items, page 29. And our first is the fleet maintenance report. And specifically, we focus on the reliability-centered maintenance program, which is a very robust and comprehensive program to meet short and long-term maintenance objectives. It supports our key performance indicators, regulatory compliance, HVAC compliance, car cleanliness, MDBF, car equipment availability, and on-time performance. The M&V department's organizational structure is geared to monitor and track failures in the fleet at the component level. And of course, our goal is to identify systematic concerns and make required adjustments to the RCM program so that we can have continued performance levels for the fleet's life. I do want to highlight that probably our most important achievement, which is noted on page 40, is an increase in the mean distance between failure. There was an improvement of 14.5% in 2012 compared to the year before. So we are very pleased that we're continuing to make progress in getting a more sustained fleet. Some of that increase is due to a better leveling of the diesel fleet, which has been one of our key points of concentration. We will continue to work on interagency activities. We work closely with Metro North on M7 components, where we share opportunities to follow the same maintenance requirements. We're always very keen to make sure we're in sync. We also have an MOU with New York City Transit, where we do some overhaul work of their air brake components. So we continue to pursue that as well, and we're pleased to support New York City Transit. We've got some challenges in 2013 on page 43. Our biggest challenge is, of course, in the area of workforce attrition. We have to fill vacancies on a timely basis and try to ensure that we sustain overtime controls, because that has a major impact, of course, on pension costs. We are doing an ongoing assessment of the diesel shop at Morris Park. It's a very antiquated and outdated facility, and we need to assess how we go forward there. Maintenance of equipment will continue. Inventory controls in our goal to reduce inventory buildup, use more just-in-time ordering, and of course our efforts to remove obsolete and excess inventory. We have really strived to achieve some savings in that area, and we've previously reported on that. And then finally, should the vacate agreement with Amtrak go forward in negotiations and agreements reached, we would be vacating the M&V facility for 26 months. That's the proposed time period where the West Side Yard shop would not be available to us. and personnel would be relocated to Hillside. So of course, we would be lacking the facility that's adjacent to the yard. That's an extremely important part of our operation right now. I do have to compliment the workforce. They've just been, terrific in responding to our new setup as we start to outline it to the workforce. We've done a number of briefings on it at Hillside. The work will be absorbed there, and we'll go forward with that. So we wrap up with our performance goals, and we look forward to continued improvement in fleet performance. And of course, we look at everything in the M7s to see what we can learn for the M9 procurement as we go forward with that. And again, we have the benefit of the M8 platform as well that informs us for the M9. Try not to get, components and configurations that have led to problems with this fleet as you buy the new fleet. Any questions?
Questions? Ira?
Well, I want to express concern about the Morris Park diesel shop. But before, I want to congratulate, especially Michael, on the increased MDBF, especially in the diesel area, because I know he's worked years on that, and with some of the staff. And also, that congratulations should be conveyed to the diesel shop maintenance employees, who I would think work under pretty adverse conditions. I mean, this thing was outdated before I was born, I think. I mean, this is an ancient facility. I'd be concerned. One of my concerns is that someone would want to landmark it. I just think this thing needs to be looked at. I know there was a proposal a year or two ago to totally renovate it, and that was tabled. But I think we really have to look for the next capital program to really get an up-to-date diesel shop, and one that's appropriate for the railroad. And I don't know what it says. Assessment is ongoing. I just think we should see something maybe in time so that something could be put in the next capital program. I don't know what, but the facility is clearly outdated. I mean, I was in that facility maybe 15 years ago, and it looks and it looked like something that should be a museum.
I can see Commissioner Tessitore is agreeing with you there. You are correct, Ira. We are doing an ongoing assessment of our needs at Morris Park. Morris Park does operate with a turntable, and the good news is that the turntable is actually in very good shape. Money had been spent to renew it and ensure that it had good continued operation. We think that there's probably a better alignment of how to use that turntable, and we're working on that right now to minimize the additional new track that would have to be put down in Morris Park for an effective facility. You are correct, there had been a plan, but the expenses were just too great to what had been identified, and we're trying to take another look at that. So we will come back to you with a staff proposal and some, conceptual designs. I think that will really benefit the railroad for the future on its diesel fleet. It is a very challenging location. Vinny, did I say that correctly? Yes, very challenging location. We do make it work, that's right. And we've been making it work better, in fact, because you see it in the MDBF.
Sure.
Okay, with that, I'm going to go to our diversity report, if there are no additional questions. And I know that there is a diversity committee meeting today, but our report is also included in the committee this morning. And I just wanted to highlight, after going through a period of very little hiring, we are back in the hiring mode. And there were 147 new hires between January 1st, 2013 and March 31st, 2013. And I know you'll hear in more detail this afternoon, but 12% were female and 44% were minority. We're very focused at Long Island Railroad of trying to ensure that we get a very diverse population applying for jobs and that we sustain that in the recruitment process.
Any questions on the diversity report? If not, elevators and
I
escalators?
do have to mention just, we did have a very well-attended forum in February at our JCC facility on minority and women business enterprise. We did repeat that out in Suffolk County, and that was terrific, very well-attended.
Yep.
And we're trying to link up small business small businesses with the larger contracts so that they could be part of a benefit of our capital program. Elevator escalator report. Elevator availability continues to be strong at 98%. That being said, this is our area of focus right now. We are working just the way we did with escalators to upgrade, modernize, add safety features where we can in the existing elevator equipment. This was a very important investment that Long Island Railroad's made over the past year. The group is working extremely well, and I just have to compliment them for the achievements that they've had in bringing our equipment back. Let's see, we have a final track work program staff summary. I did circulate a handout to include the Major League Baseball All-Star Game at the Mets City Field. I apologize, the one in your printed book does not have the section on City Field. We felt it was important to highlight the service we're doing. I mentioned that in my opening remarks. You'll see, in addition to the comments made in my opening remarks, we also have the U.S. Women's Open at the Sabonic Golf Club, June 24th through June 30th, and we're providing additional service to support women's golf. Major League Baseball was mentioned. We have the Herald Interlocking Eastside Access Project, which I described in the opening remarks. I'm going to take one more moment to mention somebody else who's here. Two people have worked really hard on this. Brian Doohan, raise your hand there, and Tim Keller. Just done an outstanding job of working on the schedules and the coordination of making sure we could do this in a 30-day program. In addition, we list the Port Jefferson Concrete Tie Program and Mechanized Tie, which are covered all in our capital and operating budgets as part of our track program. Any questions on the staff summary?
Any questions at all? Okay.
Okay, that brings
Procurements.
us right to procurements. There are 3 procurements in this month's package, 2 in the non-competitive section, and 1 ratification. And there are no competitive procurements in this month's package. The items in the non-competitive section are as follows. We have a miscellaneous service contract to Siemens Transportation System. Let me just give you the page that those appear on.
Page 65 and
Page
66.
65 and 66, thank you very much. Siemens is for a SCADA system that is extremely important to the safe operation of trains throughout Long Island Railroad's territory. It controls all high voltage switchgear, power from the utility company, DC traction power to the third rail, and the power system for the signal and speed control systems. The second is a contract modification to exercise an option to extend the period of performance for 2 additional years and increase funding in the amount of $24 million for the procurement of spare parts and modifications that are required to operate Long Island Railroad's diesel fleet, which is a fleet of 45 diesel locomotives. This was a spare parts agreement that was done as part of the original procurement. And we would ask for a vote on these non-competitive procurements.
Any questions on either of those two? I would draw attention on page 66 to the last sentence. For those of you who haven't read it. Motion by Mr. Any other second? Sal seconded. Any questions or comments on those 2 items? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Want to do the ratification?
Yes, we have a ratification of our contract with Lucius Pitkin. As I mentioned last month, we're using Lucius Pitkin to do metallurgical testing in connection with the derailment that occurred on Long Island Railroad on March 18th, and we ask your approval of this contract.
Any questions on this item? Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Capital Construction.
Capital Construction has 6 procurement items for consideration this month, totaling $7,060,765. I would like to point out that there's a typographical error on page 72 in the subtotal for the dollar amount for the ratifications. The subtotal amount should be $2,958,829. The overall total for all the procurement items on page 72 is correct, and the correct figure is contained in the printed MTA Board books for this month. There are no non-competitive items this month. There are 3 competitive items totaling $4,101,936. The first item is a modification to the Eastside Access General Engineering Consultant Contract for $2,955,936 related to repackaging, additional design services, and an increase in the other direct cost budget and overhead adjustments. The second item is a modification to the Eastside Access Harold Structures Part 1 contract for $336,000. This is a scope and budget transfer, and it's related to the work that's being done in the month-long outage this summer. And this will be for the removal of 2 signal towers and 3 catenary structures. The third item is a modification in the amount of $810,000 to the Eastside Access Harold Structures Part 2A contract to furnish and deliver power cases and equipment. These items are submitted for your consideration and vote.
Any questions or comments on any of those items? Michael, 007 is the smaller contract of the one that we got rejected the first time.
It's 00.
CM 007?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
That was,
but it is
the first one got
repackaging.
rejected, and then
Right.
you cut them into smaller pieces.
That's correct.
So this is one of those pieces.
So one of the just to make it more precise, actually includes all of everything that we have taken out of 12 when we repackaged. It's about $1 million in fees to PB to do the repackaging.
Right.
So includes not only 007 but 005, 006, and some other little pieces.
All the other pieces.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Motion to approve, second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
There are 3 ratifications this month totaling $2,958,829. The first item is a modification in the amount of $1,275,000 to the Queensboard Tunnel Structure Contract for construction of a concrete duct bank and reroute of a power line north of the Tunnel A approach structure. The second item is a modification in the amount of $1,273,829 to the Plaza Substation and Queens Structures Contract for relocation of a signal vault and revisions to the structural invert and rerouting of electrical conduits. The last item is a modification in the amount of $410,000 to the Harold Structures Part 1 contract for the temporary rerouting of existing power lines. These items are submitted for your consideration and vote.
Any questions on any of the ratifications? If not, motion to approve, second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Operating report.
Okay, I'm just going to take the last 3 together and then any questions.
Okay.
Highlight on the operating report, we're pleased to note that our April OTP was at our goal of 95.1. We really benefited from weekend on-time performance of 96.2. With regard to farebox revenue, we're pleased to note that we were about $300,000 above budget on just the farebox revenue. And then in the capital program, which I wanted to mention on page 122, we're moving forward with Massapequa improvements. This is a multi-phase initiative that involves creation of a pocket track, $19 million project that will benefit the Babylon branch. Again, this is part of our Eastside Access Readiness initiatives. We'll be able to increase service that will serve Grand Central on the Babylon branch with this use of a pocket track, storing additional trains just for the peak periods. There's no overnight storage on the pocket track. We'll also be doing a station rehabilitation. This is a station desperately in need of a new platform, lighting, and general overall repairs, including elevator, escalator, communications, and security systems. So we're pleased to move forward with that project, and we'll be reporting on its progress. Are there any questions on any of those reports?
Any questions on any of the operations? Okay,
Okay, we are giving back some
giving
time.
back 7 minutes. See how good we are today? We're on or close. Motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor? Thank you.